plan was to take the drone off, fly over the murder site. We see the murder site, and then we just continue flying over it, right? That was what was in the script. That was what we were going to do, and that's what we planned for. Then on something like the Tuesday or the Wednesday night, Toby Bentley, who's one of the execs at Netflix, said, could we possibly land the drone? I know we're taking it off. Could we land it? I was like, oh my God.
You were like, oh my God.
No, I know. I came to you and I
like,
said,
oh my God.
hello, I'm Philip Barantini, and this is Deadlines, the process. And today I'm talking to Matthew Lewis, who is one of my dearest friends, but also my cinematographer for the last, how many years?
Well, bear in mind,
2018.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so what's that? We're coming up to 8 years.
Is
That's,
it?
that's a fair bit of time.
That's a fair bit of
How
time, isn't
fun.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like working with Philip Barantini, the director? I'm
Oh,
joking. I'm only joking. I'm joking.
horrendous. No, we
No,
have fun. We have fun.
we
You'll
do,
get
we
to
do, we
work
do, we
with,
do. I
definitely.
think
Yeah.
for me anyway, like, and this is not a question, but like just the origin story, if you like, is like we met when I was still acting, and you were in your second year at university, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And
Second year.
like, obviously, I mean, I'm just going to tell them the story of how that came about because
Okay.
I I was so I got a message from my agent basically saying these young students want to meet you for their short film, and can you meet them somewhere nearby where? And I was working as a chef at the time actually, as well as acting. So we met at a place in London Bridge, and it was about like what 3 o'clock something maybe, I don't know, I can't remember the
I
time,
think it was
but
later. It was, yeah. Anyway, that's not, yeah.
well, yeah, it was whatever time it was, but anyway, so I'm sat there, and these group of young lads walk over to me. It was like one of the best interactions, but like also the one of the strangest interactions because like I wasn't auditioning for this part, but it was like we were thinking. And anyway, they were one of them. I won't name any names. Had drank a bottle of wine on the way down, and it wasn't Matthew, by the way. But it was just funny. Anyway, so we met. That's where we met, and I ended up doing this short film with them. And I seem to remember like they were all so talented for how young they were, and I remember just being like, Matt is like like something special, just so clever and so like just intuitive and had such a good eye. I was just like, I want to keep him in my back pocket for when I eventually direct something. And then I remember I got the script, Robbie's script, and I called you up and I was like, I'm not sure whether this is your cup of tea or whether you'd fancy doing this, but here's a script. I want to direct it. Would you be up for it? And I remember you being like, this is exactly the type of stuff I want to be doing.
I
This is
probably
right up
said,
my street.
please.
Please, yeah. I think you'd
Let me
obviously
shoot some
graduated at that
stuff.
point.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
working as a camera assistant, so it was very much like, can I please shoot something with a director? Because it's so hard when you come out of uni to know where you're going to go, and you're just trying to make your way into sort of the industry via crews, and you're hoping that people like you enough to keep employing you, and then and so then was like, oh, if I can also shoot stuff on the side, that'd be lovely, and just get to be creative because that's the whole point of this. So yeah, very grateful for that meeting and that process, and
Oh my
it's
God, me
served us
too.
very well in the
Yeah.
years to come. With our working relationship has been absolutely brilliant. So
Yeah. And
it's been a great, yeah, exactly.
I think on every job that we do, we sort of like just pinch ourselves, don't we? But like every job we do, we have like an office that we share together. We don't have separate offices usually, and we share an office, and we'd always just look. There's always a moment where we look at each other and go, "What we doing? This is amazing. Look where we are."
Yeah,
Um.
yeah.
So yeah, no, but it's but just like sort of watching your growth as well in terms of personal growth. I think for like, there was a moment where, when we did the responder, that you didn't feel like you were ready to do
Yeah,
that
I
sort
don't.
of TV and stuff. So
It's
talk to me
more
about
at the
what,
time.
you know.
Oh, go on. No, host me. I like it. What was your
Yeah.
question?
No, that was it. It was like, tell me like
uh,
what you were thinking in that.
there was a point where I was focus pulling, finally actually making a living as a camera assistant, which is hard enough. Especially it was post COVID, so work was a bit weird. Um, but I had already shot Boiling Point at the time, which is funny to think. But that whole moonlighting as a DP
Mm,
thing was going on, and so but there was a point where you got offered to do an episode of The Responder for the BBC. You asked me to do it. We'd obviously shot a feature film before together, and other stuff, but we'd never done TV. There was a moment where I wasn't sure that I was ready to shoot something for a broadcaster because it just felt like this big scary monster that was going to be
mm,
super different to doing anything that I'd done before, and I had
mm,
to be convinced basically by going and doing it, which is a weird. It's never normally this way around, so I'm very lucky that people were fighting my corner without, when I wasn't
mm.
fighting my corner. But I was essentially convinced to do it, and lulled into the onto set to do some pickup stuff on another unit, and it was just and just to prove that it was fine. Basically, it was your angle and
Mm.
was the producer's angle. That leap of faith had to happen at some point, and it happened. Yeah, with you on that first job that we did together.
And like talking about adolescence, like, the whole spark and the concept of that came from a conversation that I'd had with Plan B. And then we got, I spoke to Stephen about an idea, and then we did this. The process was that we were going to do this one take series, which had never been done before. And then we came up with the idea for the story and stuff like that. But you, like, the whole time that I was talking to Plan B at the beginning, I was feeding back to you going, Plan B want to do a one take series with us, blah blah blah. So I think like I think on every job that we've done, you and I have been speaking very very early on before prep even starts. Really, I think because it's so
Yeah.
important to do that, and I think that's what's helped us in our relationship and how we work together as well, is because we're just like excited puppies really at most of the time.
Mm.
And I think
Yeah.
what is amazing about working with you is that you collaborate really well, and I've said this quite a lot, but you don't for some reason think about the shots or the camera at first. It's always about story and performance and what's the camera, how's the camera movement gonna um facilitate that. And that's a prime example in Adolescence was, we'd spoken really extensively about how we were going to do this. And there was a thing that recently came out that you shared all of the sort of the diagrams that we did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So maybe just talk about like that process in terms of how we do this, the one shot, and how we plan it out together. It starts with you in an iPhone,
Yeah.
me playing all the characters, and then we just.
We've done obviously one before. We've shot Boiling Point together before, and so from
Mm,
off the back of that, we already had a process. It gave us a starting block to start Adolescence with, because before, how do you plan a one shot, I guess, is the question,
yeah.
because like you're starting from the ground up, and your one thing affects the next all the way through, so it's really hard to, you can't do it as a written list. You can't, like, it's really hard to visualize for a lot of people, especially other departments that aren't,
Mm,
necessarily don't traditionally have to visualize the images to such an extent. So the way we did it was, we planned it all out on a map essentially. So we had it all animated from a top down perspective, all the characters and all the camera moves, basically all the way through, almost all the way through all of this show. We had that put together in prep, and then it was a case of coming in with the actors, walking through the space and what we suggested the blocking to be, and where the camera is going to be with them, so they had an understanding of it, with an understanding as well that things are going to change on the day, like,
mm-hmm,
not on the day of shooting, but in the rehearsals,
yeah.
because you want to make sure there's room to play, and I know that's how you always work, and I want that as well. But because I think, because as you said, like, I think of camera moves very much from a story perspective, which is sometimes a curse on other jobs, probably quite annoying to work with sometimes. this sort of constant quest for motivation. But like, it really works well for a oneer to understand why the camera's doing what it's doing. And it meant that there was always an answer if someone on set was like, "Oh, why are we doing that?" We're like, oh, "Okay, because we're doing it because of this." And you sort of come in well informed, and then that helps to springboard, everything else that's happening on the day of rehearsals. But
Mm,
yeah, so then we would go. We spent 2 weeks on each episode, basically working it through with cast and with camera, just doing all of
mm.
the sort of all the technical prep as well as all of the sort of performance elements. It all just sort of happened vaguely at once. It wasn't designed to, but it ended up needing to be, and overlapping, and because everything informed everything else. So like the way the camera was moving informed the performance, and the performance moved the camera, and it was just like back and forth, as well as occasionally for you needing to like make script changes. So therefore, you
Mm.
were then talking to Jack, and Jack was talking to you and Stephen. So it was like a whole. Everyone had to be able to communicate back and forth constantly at all times, very freely. I think that's what made
Mm.
it work really well in the end, is because it needed, it needed back and forth for everyone, and compromise as well as changes. It's just like
Mm.
nothing, the things that you've written down and the things that we had prepped, so like the script and our plans, weren't always going to line up with the physics of reality, like
Yeah,
how the
yeah.
locations actually are once we'd put foot on the ground and sort of had a look at it.
Mm. I think the difference between this and a regular, conventional shoot was like we were lucky enough to have the locations, at our disposal from early on, so we could go to the actual locations, and the majority of them were real, someone's house or, and so we were able to go in there and really like block it through and play with it a little bit before any actors come in.
Yeah.
Whereas I think on a conventional shoot, you don't have that luxury. You certainly nine
No.
times out of 10, you don't have the luxury of rehearsals before the shoot days.
Certainly not
Um,
weeks in advance,
Not weeks in advance, exactly.
and being able to record and take notes on the scene, because like
Yeah.
we were able to, in our rehearsal process, you're recording the entire episode or a section of it, and you're sitting
Mm,
down and you're watching it, which is a real, it's a real privilege to get, because you don't get to do that in the edit. I mean, you've just come off of an edit, and like, you don't get to, at that process, be like, all right, then I'm just going to go reshoot that scene again, because we get the sort of the privilege of revisions and being able to, which was so part of it, and it was like constant kind of
yeah.
review process of like, okay, watching it again, right, here's the notes, we want to improve this, we want to tighten that up. I'd have my camera notes, and lighting notes, and you'd have your performance notes and blocking notes, and it would be, a sort of combination of all of those, where we'd sort of come back and we meet and we talk about it all, and we'd
Yeah.
improve it the next time, which
Yeah.
is which is a unique gift that one shot does provide.
Yeah.
It encourages you to make something that is, even tighter. Like,
Mm,
it
mm.
by the end, it's like everything is really clean, because you know exactly what you need to get from it.
Yeah, it's very unique, but it needs a lot of prep and a lot of planning, to make it seamless. That's what I was going to say. So at the beginning of the prep week, of the rehearsal week, my notes on my iPad would be pages and pages and pages. And then by the end of prep, the tech rehearsal week, the notes would be minimal,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah. But I think we're gonna. There's a clip that's being shown on this, right, and it's the clip of the drone taking off and landing, right.
Mm-hmm.
That scenario. Let me just give a bit of backstory, right? So something like Wednesday of the shoot week. So we've already rehearsed it in the shoot week, right? The plan was to take the drone off, fly over the murder site. We see the murder site, and then we just continue flying over it, right? That was what we were. That was what was in the script. That was what we were going to do, and that's what we planned for. Then on something like the Tuesday or the Wednesday night, Toby Bentley, who's one of the execs at Netflix, said he would love to see Stephen in this episode. Would it be possible to see him at the murder site, maybe putting some flowers down? I was like, well, we're not going to be able to probably work out that it's him if we're flying over. And he's like, well, could we possibly land the drone? I know we're taking it off. Could we land it? I was like, oh my God.
You were like, oh my God.
No, no, no. I know. I came to
I
you and
was
I
like,
said,
oh my God.
you were more than, oh my God. I came
Uh,
to you and was like, Matthew, are you sitting down? I think
yes.
we need to try this. anyway, you explain what happened, because it was.
Yeah. I probably was sitting down because I had a knee injury at the time, so I imagine I was probably sat somewhere. I yeah, so that came through. We didn't have very much time to act on it. It was very much like we're either going to do it or not do it. So what do we do here? Spoke to the drone team. They said technically yes, we can. Like they're happy to give it a go. We had all sorts of logistics to work out. We basically had planned for the video feed to end basically as the drone was in the sky, apart from the drone operator. So we had to work out a way of having a video feed landing in the car park as well, because we needed, a focus puller needed to focus pull suddenly when he didn't have to before. We needed to iris pull, and we had to make sure that we were landing in the right car park, not on a car. Like there was all sorts of stuff that had to suddenly happen very quickly. So we lost a take basically the Wednesday morning. I think we lost
Yeah.
that take in order to just rehearse the move over and over again. Thankfully, my crew are fantastic. They knew we sort of all brainstormed what to do about this, how the best way to approach it, like what the best way to approach it was. And then essentially it was our action for taking off in reverse, which is, to catch the drone. I come in underneath the drone, we unclip it, and then I walk into to Stephen's close up at the end, which is fine unless there's gale force winds due for the next 2 days of the shoot, which is the last 2 days of a shoot of a oneer where you're trying to land a drone at the end of it. So we essentially we couldn't take off on the Thursday because it was too windy. So both versions of that episode were grounded. So the end of the episode was different basically. So then we had Friday, and I basically had a little strop. I put my foot down, and I was like, we need to do a safety one first, because the Friday morning, I was worried that we weren't gonna, if we tried the landing version, that if we didn't get it, we only had one go at getting the entire.
Oh yeah, episode. We did a safety version.
Yeah, so we did a safety version where it took off and flew over yeah. It was just about windy. It was just about not windy enough for us to actually take off. So you can see it on the police tape. It is like it's sideways. It's like flapping around like mad. It's almost being pulled off of the post it's on. So we did one version where the camera took off and flew over the crime scene, and then we got that.
I think I just blocked that out in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was like, we're not going to use it. I want to,
Exactly, yeah. But we needed a safer option, and so that's what we got in the morning, and then in the afternoon we got the one where we landed. So that was the very last attempt at that episode, and that's one we used. And thankfully, everything lined up basically, but there was quite a bit of pressure going into that last one. Even though I was like, at least we've got an episode. There was some relief, but I was obviously really aware that everyone was really gunning for the version where Stephen was there on the ground and we landed next to him. So, but yeah, there we go. We got it. And everyone seems to really have enjoyed the fact that the camera takes off and lands again. Which almost did not happen. It was very close to not happening.
Yeah. I'm so, glad it did happen, but it was touch and go for a while.
It was. It's a testament to the technical teams, because honestly, we had to like redesign that whole system so that people were jumping on a new tracking vehicle that had to follow, down the road underneath the drone. We had, we were actually in shot. The white minibus that's there is the crew going into the car park to land the drone, catch it, all that sort of stuff. So it's a testament to them that they managed to, to pull it all together and make it happen. And it's so special that the world has seen what the achievement was, because and the fact it's hopefully serves the story and isn't just the sort of the flamboyant sort of camera move at the end of the, So yeah.
But I mean, like you say, testament to everyone involved, because we all just rallied together and we made it happen. Your team made it happen, and it's it was a joy to watch and to be a part.
It wasn't a joy to watch though, was it?
Well, it was excruciating when we watched it, but when we got it, it was like winning the World Cup.
Nice.
But I think we have to wrap it up there. But mate, this has been lovely.
What a lovely little chat. We never get to do this. We should do this in real life. Well, thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.